The largest part of the brain is said to be the cerebrum, and it is again divided into several regions. The cerebrum has two cerebral hemispheres, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, and it is the major or superior part of the brain. It includes more than half of the brain mass, and it is divided into several distinct regions like the frontal lobe or the temporal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, likewise. So it occupies the large part of the brain, and it is present in folds known as the gyri and the sulci. There are some brain functions that are localized more to one hemisphere than the other. The function of the two hemispheres is largely redundant, it is repetitive. In fact, sometimes the entire hemisphere is removed to treat severe epilepsy. When patients do suffer some deficit following surgery can have surprisingly few problems, especially when surgery is performed in children who have very immature nervous system. If the corpus callosum is cut, then this causes a condition known as the split brain, which give insight into a unique function of two hemisphere. Like I have told you that right hemisphere is the artistic hemisphere and left hemisphere is the intellect hemisphere, and both the hemisphere, the function of each part is coordinated by the corpus callosum. When the corpus callosum is cut, then a unique condition known as the split identity occurs. We also call this split brain or split identity as Dr. Jack and Heidel symptom. We also know that the right hemisphere controls the left side of the body and left hemisphere controls the right side of the body. So, the right hemisphere is said to be the artistic side and the left hemisphere is said to be the scholar or the intellect region. Each cortical hemisphere contains region called lobe that are involved in different function. Like I have told you, the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, likewise. So these specific region or lobe in the cortical hemisphere is said to perform specific function. Like the temporal lobe is said to be involved in the auditory function. The occipital lobe is involved in the function involved with seeing or vision. The frontal lobe is responsible for the motor activity, coordination of various function. It is said to be the site where a lot of thinking is done. So the experiments have been done, or the patient having certain disease or injuries, they have been examined to find out the function of these specific region. The researchers conduct animal studies where they stimulate the brain area and see if there is any behavioral change. Like in your third year, you have studied the animal behavior, applied zoology, and biostats. So, in that specific region of ethology, there is one chapter where you have studied about the method of studying behavior, and in there you must remember there is one experiment where a monkey was uh, made to understand and learn the shape and size of certain blocks. And when he picked up a square, a banana was given to him. When he picked up a triangle, an apple was given to him. So, likewise, he was trained first. And then, when he was given banana, he knew that he had to pick up the square block. When he was given apple, he knew that he had to pick up the triangle block. So, likewise, the monkey was trained. And then, in further experiment, certain region of the cortex hemisphere were removed, and it was found that when banana was given to the monkey, he was not able to recognize or pick up the block. This experiment showed that there are regions in the cortical hemisphere where the information is stored, and when that region was damaged, the animal was unable to pick up or identify or do the task which he had learned. So it was uh, made known that the information is distributed equally in the cortical hemisphere. So, likewise, various experiments have been conducted to understand which part of the brain performs which function. When the MRI or the ECG or various other uh, studying parameters were done, when techniques like TMS, transmagnetic stimulation, was done, or magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, or EEG, electroencephalogram. Likewise, several techniques have been employed to understand the function of the brain. And in one such experiment, the person was made to listen music, and he was given to know the enlightenment of the part where when music is played something happens. So he was made to drink glucose uh, with some radioactive element. And in these studies, when the person was allowed to hear music, the chemical which was given to him attached with glucose, it went to the brain and highlighted that part of the brain when music was played. So that way it was understood that when music is played, certain region, specific region in the brain is enlightened or it is excited. Likewise, several experiments were conducted. Now MRIs were undertaken to look at the changes in oxygenated blood from particular region that correlate with specific behavioral task. Each hemisphere of mammalian cerebral cortex was broken down into four functionally and spatially defined lobes. Like I already told you, the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the temporal lobe, and occipital lobe. Frontal lobe is located in the front and contains the motor cortex.